Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So good evening, everyone. Namaste, and welcome to our Tuesday evening study of Swami Chaitanananda's book, Sri Sarada Devi, Her Divine Play. I believe that there has been a chat announcement as to what page we're on.
Yes, I did put it on 644, Brother Shankara.
Thank you, dear.
Do you want me to go back to Holy Mother as a householder from the beginning?
No.
We don't need to? Okay. I could just start to make the mother was, that's where we are, the third paragraph.
But before we do that, let's see if there is anything that wants to be said or asked.
Sure.
Based on what we've read so far. Anything at all from anyone? There are, after all, only 5 of us, so we have plenty of time. Anything else? Anything that anyone has to offer, or anything that you would like to ask? All right, dears.
Okay.
Please just start then, Haima. Thank you.
Okay, sure, Brother Shankara. Thank you. The mother was neither extravagant nor stingy, but she was frugal. Some devotees gave her money every month to maintain her household, as she had to look after her nieces, disciples, and visiting devotees who came to her for initiation. She had her disciples buy paddy during the harvesting season because it was cheaper then. She purchased groceries from a distant market at a wholesale rate. She vehemently opposed the tax that was imposed on her house, arguing that it was a religious institution. She acted as a prudent householder. Swami Saradeshananda wrote, every year at the proper time, the mother arranged to have the annual necessities such as rice, pulses, molasses, and other things bought from the market when they were at the cheapest rate. Again, before the rainy season, the mother arranged to collect firewood for cooking and to repair doors and windows, the mud walls, and the thatched roof. She kept an eye on every little thing.
Now, this is something that we should take note of.
Yes.
That the mother, as it said, she was neither extravagant nor stingy, but she was careful with the money that she was given. She was frugal. There's a very big difference between being frugal and being stingy. It's a distinction that some people don't make very well. They think that to be frugal, they must be stingy. Well, the mother serves as a wonderful example. She could be very generous when the circumstances warranted it, and she could be very careful with the money at all other times, buying, as was noted, at when things were the cheapest. She was, in other words, she exhibited a mastery of the game of life. And this is something for us all to take note of. We must not let life master us. We are capable of mastering the game of life. And the mother serves as a model in so very many ways. But each of us has to find our own way. So are there any comments or questions that anyone would like to make about any of those things that have been read or said?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Brother Shankara.
Yes, first Swayam and then Sham.
Yes, first Swayam and then Sham.
Somebody has their microphone open. We're getting feedback.
Somebody has their microphone open. We're getting feedback.
okay. I needed to be part of this class today, and your statement that everyone needs to find a way rings true to me because my eldest sister passed away this morning in New Jersey. She was 84, but otherwise she was healthy. We had no indication that anything was wrong. So it was kind of a sudden news, and we are all trying to process it. And we will be going to New Jersey tomorrow to attend the services. But I think this class is going to give me solace, so I decided I'm going to join this today.
Well, thank you, Swayam. Yes, thinking about the mother and being with the mother in this way will give us solace in times of grief. And I'm sure the sudden loss of your eldest sister is definitely a blow, and you will be grieving for some time. We will be mindful of that. And so please do be forthcoming about it as the weeks go by. Thank you, Swayam. And
Will do, and we will still, we are planning on being back in time to keep up our plans with Swami Sarvadevanand.
oh, excellent, wonderful. Well, he will be very sympathetic too. Be sure and let him know, dear, that this has happened to you.
I will.
Don't be reticent in communicating with the Swami about it.
I will, and I'm sorry to take up the class's time. But
No,
no,
dear heart.
no.
This is what we do. This
Yeah,
is
we're
what
sorry
it
to
means
hear that.
to study the art of spirituality together. That we are there for one another in times of need. So again, thank you for being forthcoming, and thank you for your that you're taking note, that you're seeking solace from the mother as you listen to these stories of her. Jai Ma. Sham, you had something?
Something.
Yeah, what I wanted to say was Holy Mother didn't want to pay the tax on the house, saying that it's a religious place. So it's something like 501 C3 or something like that.
Yes,
Here.
yes, just
But
exactly.
She was aware of that at that time, although it was not the practice in India.
Well, there was that exception in the law.
Well,
There was that exception in the law that in Indian law and British law, that religious institutions were not taxed. So there was we read and heard about the details of that some time back. How she had the postman write a letter for her and so on and so forth. That she protested that she should not be taxed because that the resources of her place were devoted exclusively toward religious purposes, which was true. Nothing else happened there other than they had a mischievous cat.
Other than they had a mischievous cat.
Anything else, Sham?
Thank you.
Anything else, Sean?
No, thank you. And condolences to Swayam
Swayam, yes.
on her loss.
Swayam, yes.
All right, dears.
You want me to go on, Brother Shankara?
Mother kept an eye on every little thing. This is part of the mastery of life, being attentive to all the details. It isn't only the devil that's in the details. There's that folk saying, the devil's in the details. The angels are also in the details. Okay, please read on.
Sure. She could not bear any waste. She asked her attendants to collect cow dung and dry the patties in the sun to use for fuel. When parcels came from Calcutta and other places, she asked that the boxes and wrapping papers be saved to use later. The peelings from vegetables and fruits and the foamy water from boiled rice were given to the cows. Leftover rice and dal were given to beggars or to the cows. The saying, waste not, want not, is very true. The less we waste, the less we lack in the future.
And that's the law of karma at work. That is the law of karma at work. When we're wasteful, we can expect to be at pains at some time in the future for having enough. If we're careful, if we're thoughtful, just the opposite is true. Swami Abhedananda, in his book Doctrine of Karma, is absolutely explicit about this. There is no exception. So read that again, please.
Yes, the saying, waste not, want not, is very true. The less we waste, the less we lack in the future. The volume of food wasted in Western countries could feed all the poor people of the third world. There is a footnote. Do you want me to read that footnote?
Yes, please do.
Sure. Regarding the waste of food in America, an article published in the New York Times on 18th May 2008 stated, Americans waste an astounding amount of food. An estimated 27% of the food available for consumption, according to a government study, and it happens at the supermarket, in restaurants and cafeterias, and in your very own kitchen. It works out to about a pound of food every day for every American in 1997. In one of the few studies of food waste, the Department of Agriculture estimated that 2 years before, 96.4 billion pounds of the 356 billion pounds of edible food in the United States was never eaten. Fresh produce, milk, grain products, and sweeteners made up of 2/3 of the waste. That was the end of the
It's amazing how much
It is.
wasted in the way of milk products. It's just shameful how much milk, half and half, yogurt, other milk products are thrown away because people are not careful with them. And of course, the same is true of breads and
other things. Yes.
So the more we are thoughtful and careful, the less we'll have to worry about this big specter of inflation. You know, the fact that there's slightly rising prices compared to other inflationary periods in the past. This is relatively mild. So it needn't trouble us if we're careful. Thank you for reading the footnote, Haima. That was very appropriate.
Sure, Brother Shankara.
Okay, please go ahead.
Rame, later Swami Gaurishwarananda, often came to visit Holy Mother from Badanganj High School and stayed with her over the weekends. One Saturday, a woman devotee cooked a gourmet dish called Bhuni Kichuri for lunch, and the mother saved some for Rame. When he came in the afternoon, the mother gave him that food to eat. He ate some and was about to throw away the leftovers. The mother told him, "My son, don't throw away such good food." She asked him to call a poor woman who lived nearby, and she joyfully took away the remaining food. Then the mother said, "One should have one's due. What men can eat shouldn't be wasted on cattle. What cattle can eat shouldn't be thrown away to dogs. What cattle and dogs can't eat can be given to the fish in the ponds. Nothing should be wasted."
And she said this more than one time in more than one circumstance.
Exactly. Can I read that one more time, Brother Shankara?
Please.
Then the mother said, "One should have one's due. What men can eat shouldn't be wasted on cattle. What cattle can eat shouldn't be thrown away to dogs. What cattle and dogs can't eat can be given to the fish in the ponds. Nothing should be wasted." Prabodh Chandra Chattopadhyay was the headmaster of the Badanganj High School and also a disciple of the mother. Whenever he visited the mother in Jairambati, he would bring expensive fruits, sweets, and other things in a large basket. Holy Mother told him, "My son, I have everything by the Master's grace. I have no needs. You are a householder and you have spent so much money on me. You will have to look after your wife, your children, and their educational expenses. And you have spent so much money for these gifts." Prabodh was a little hurt. Understanding his wounded feelings, the mother said, "Listen, my son, why I have said this. You are a householder. You need to save something. If you have no savings, how will you serve the monks? The monks do not earn money. They live on the financial help of the householder." Prabodh was touched by the mother's farsightedness and her affection for him.
And this is so true. And it has been the householders that have provided for the Ramakrishna order right from the beginning. Though the master's direct disciples, who were householders, teased the boys, calling them urchins and so on. Just in fun. They did support them. They supported the Baranagore monastery, and they brought food. Those boys did not starve, though sometimes the rations got a little thin. Then no sooner than things began to get a little, as I said, thin, then somebody would show up with a quantity of food. And Ramakrishnananda and others were very skillful at preparing the food and making it go a long way. So right from the beginning, the householders have provided for the monks, and this is the understanding. The householders provide for the monks, and the monks provide the spiritual nourishment and guidance that are needed by householders, because it is otherwise it would be such a parched life, such a dry life without the holy company of the monks. Anything at all from anyone about that particular idea of what is exchanged, so to speak, though it's not there's no rate of exchange or any conscious act of bartering. It's certainly that fact is there. And, Swami Prabhavananda, I'll just tell the story about householders and their money. At the beginning of World War II, there was a woman who worked as a clerk, secretary, but mainly she was just a filing clerk and so on. But when I say just a filing clerk, that doesn't mean to minimize that as a fine job, but it didn't pay much in those days and so on. And so this was before the war. As the war took hold and the draft took hold, many of the men who worked in that office were drafted and went into the military. So because she was there and because she was diligent and capable and quite intelligent, I knew her. This isn't supposition. I knew her in her later years. Very, very sweet woman. This was in the 40s, though. As the war was ending, she kept her position that she had risen to in this public relations agency. And she was making quite a bit of money compared to what she had made before. And she said to Swami Prabhavananda, well, Swami, here now I'm making a great deal more money than I used to make. Should I have a bank account? And the Swami's words were exactly this. Oh, yes, have plenty bank account. Just remember, the money is not yours. It is Sri Ramakrishna's. And so this was Swami Prabhavananda's instruction to householders. You will serve yourself and your family and everyone else well if you regard yourself as a custodian, a steward of the resources of the master. And certainly that's how the mother regarded herself. So any comments or questions about what we've read so far and said so far about these things?
That is true, Brother Shankara. We don't take anything with us when we leave this world. So we came with nothing, we go with nothing. So we are only custodians of everything.
Yes.
Everything is divine.
Yes, and yet people have such a possessive attitude toward it.
Right.
Or they can have anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you, Haima.
Sure.
Anything else from anyone about this idea of extravagant, stingy, frugal, being careful, being thoughtful, trying to take into account every little detail? All of these things that we've read so far about the mother and how she behaved with resources, that nothing should be wasted. We don't have cattle anymore, but we certainly do have homeless shelters, and not to mention dogs and cats, but we do have homeless shelters. And for example, when we have the annual meeting in mid-May, May 15th is our annual meeting of the congregation, we will have a lunch afterwards. We'll ask people to let us know whether they're going to be with us for the lunch, so we'll know how much to order. But inevitably, in part because of the generosity of the place that we order from, we end up with leftovers, with a good deal of leftover food. And of course, it's still pure. This isn't something that's been on someone's plate. It's still And we make sure, usually it's Lori Findlay who takes care of this, we make sure that it goes to a homeless shelter or homeless shelters. And they make very good use of it, you may be sure. So it isn't just we're walking the talk here. Anything else from anyone? Okay, please go ahead, dear.
Sure. In Calcutta, the monks took care of the groceries and household affairs, while Holy Mother took care of the devotees' spiritual welfare. But her vigilant eyes were everywhere. Sarajubala recorded, one day after lunch, the mother lay down and was about to fall asleep. A servant from Balaram's family called on her and left a basket of custard apples in the shrine for the offering. Then he took the empty basket downstairs and asked the monks what he should do with the basket. They told him to throw it out in the lane. When the mother overheard this, she left her bed and went to the porch. She looked at the lane and said to me, "Look here, how beautiful that basket is. They have asked him to throw it away. It does not matter to them in the least. They are all monks and totally unattached. But we cannot allow such waste. We could at least use the basket for keeping vegetable peelings." She asked someone to fetch the basket, wash it, and keep it for future use. I learned a lesson from her words, but we are so slow to learn.
Now, notice how small the Udbodhan house was. I mean, I didn't get a chance to visit there when I was in India.
Yeah.
But we get a very clear idea of just how small this place was, that Mother overheard this conversation and immediately reacted to it. So, the fact that a nice basket came from Balaram's house is no surprise. Balaram's family was quite wealthy. So the fact that she knew it was a nice basket, but when she overheard that it was going to be thrown away, she said, no. Well and good.
That's true.
And Surabala learned a lesson from her words. We can too.
Yes. You want me to
Anything
proceed?
else? Okay.
It is customary in Bengal to eat various kinds of cakes on the last day of the Bengali month of Pash, which falls in the middle of January. One year on that day in Jairambati, Holy Mother husked paddy to make fresh rice, then washed black lentils vigorously in the pond. She asked Nalini and Surabala to grind the soaked rice and lentils into a paste with a pestle and a stone slab. After finishing her bath and worship, she went to the kitchen and made various kinds of cakes: Sara chikli, puli, rasabara, and patisapta, and rice pudding for the rest of the day. She offered the dishes to the master and served the prasad to the devotees and relatives who enjoyed those delicious cakes immensely. She said to Ashu, "I have made a large quantity and saved some for tomorrow. These cakes become tastier when they are kept overnight. You will enjoy them again tomorrow." Ashu was touched, observing how the mother had worked hard the entire day to serve everyone.
And this was true not just that day, it was true day in and day out. Mother was constantly at work, and she advises us to do the same, not to be idle. There is the folk saying, the idle mind or idle hands are the devil's plaything. And the mother, though I don't know that she knew that expression, I think she would have agreed with it in her way. So it's best not to be idle, best not to be unmotivated. Any comments or questions before we go on to the next subhead? All right, please go ahead, dear.
Yes. Next subhead is humility and sympathy. Pride makes people artificial, and humility makes them genuine. As God is egoless, so a realized soul must be egoless. Humility is the test of spirituality. Ramakrishna demonstrated his humility by cleaning the toilet of the Dakshineshwar temple garden and the drain of the sweeper Rasik. He also swept the garden path and acted as a gardener. Holy Mother washed the clothes of her devotees, cooked for them, mopped the floor of her home in Jairampati, swept the courtyard, and did many so-called menial tasks. As a divine being and the wife of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, she did not need to perform the duties of a maid servant and cook. However, the performance of such activities was necessary for the mother to present herself as a role model for her disciples and future generations.
So there we are. There's a little inventory of the things that the mother used to do. Please read that over from the beginning, dear.
Yes. Pride makes people artificial, and humility makes them genuine. As God is egoless, so a realized soul must be egoless. Humility is the test of spirituality.
And this is, Patanjali makes a particular point of this in his Yoga Sutras, that humility is the mark of a true yogi. Humility and fluidity or flexibility, not being attached to a particular way of being or any particular moment or what's in the moment. Humility and spontaneity, flexibility. Those are the two of the hallmarks of a yogi, he says. Okay, dear.
Ramakrishna demonstrated his humility by cleaning the toilet of the Dakshineshwar temple garden and the drain of the sweeper Rasik. He also swept the garden path and acted as a gardener. Holy Mother washed the clothes of her devotees, cooked for them, mopped the floor of her home in Jairampati, swept the courtyard, and did many so-called menial tasks. As a divine being and the wife of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, she did not need to perform the duties of a maid servant and cook. However, the performance of such activities was necessary for the mother to present herself as a role model for her disciples and future generations.
And that's us.
Towards the end of her life, Holy Mother became feeble, so an elderly Brahmin woman was hired to cook for her large household in Jairampati. Holy Mother used to call her aunt. It is customary to pay respect to the seniors on the last day of Durga Puja. So when Holy Mother was about to bow down to the Brahmin cook, she said, "What is this, Mother? You are the mother of the universe, and all people bow down to you. I am an ordinary woman. I can't accept your salutation." But the mother insisted. She bowed down to her and said, "It's perfectly all right. You are my aunt."
Now, what do you make of that?
It's It's beautiful.
What does anyone have to say about that?
It's beautiful to me. That is the way it should be. It's the respecting the age of the elderly person, regardless of her role as a servant or teacher, or that's how I look at it. It's just beautiful to read that, Brother Shankara.
Yes.
So much to learn from her.
Respect for our elders.
She respects
and respect for the service that the woman offered.
Yes.
You are my aunt.
Yes.
It's perfectly all right. You are my aunt. Anything else from anyone about this particular little peek into the mother's humility? Okay, dear, read on.
It's inspiring. Thank you. Sympathy exists in all hearts, but it may not manifest in all of them. Holy Mother's sympathy always flowed towards everyone around her, and it manifested through her love and service. Earlier, we described her sympathy for actresses who had questionable character. Their glamour and riches could not give them peace. So from time to time, they visited the mother in Udbodhan house. According to Kaushitaki Upanishad 3:8, whomever the indwelling self wishes to uplift from this mundane world, it make that person do good deeds.
Please read that again.
Yes. According to the Kaushitaki Upanishad,
Chapter 3, verse 8.
Chapter 3, verses 8. Okay. Chapter 3, verses 8. Whomever the indwelling self wishes to uplift from this mundane world, it make that person do good deeds. To uplift some poor and neglected souls, Holy Mother sometimes accepted personal service out of compassion.
Sometimes it cost her. Just having them touch her. Personal service usually means touching her body.
Yeah.
It would sting her like a scorpion bite. She would have to put Ganges water on it. But she would do it anyway so that these people would be able to be lifted up. One day
she told a little boy, "My son, please pick some flowers for me. You are my jewel." The boy refused, but Holy Mother insisted. Finally, that boy picked some flowers for her worship. Though Holy Mother had several attendants, she asked one poor elderly village woman to massage her feet with oil. The woman said that she was too tired from working the whole day and needed to rest. Holy Mother pleaded, "Look, my child, give me a little massage for my feet. What else can you do?" The woman yielded at last. This is the way the mother sometimes bestowed her grace on some souls without letting them know about it. Beautiful.
And you can bet that this particular woman, without knowing, maybe she didn't know why, but she felt better after having done that.
I'm sure. That's the end of humility and sympathy. Now we're moving on to love and compassion.
Anything at all about mothers or about the subjects of humility and sympathy, which are so closely related. If you're prideful, you won't notice the things that might deserve your sympathy. If you're unsympathetic, that is the very definition of being not humble. So the two are very closely related. Anything at all about humility and sympathy. All right, please go on.
Love and compassion. Without love and compassion, human beings are like beasts. These two noble qualities make life smooth and joyful.
Now, please read that again.
Yes. Without love and compassion, human beings are like beasts. These two noble qualities make life smooth and joyful.
And the subjects, the objects of that sentence are love and compassion, make life smooth and joyful. And really, if we stop and are the least bit analytical about this, if we're the least bit critical in our thinking, we'll see that they're just about the only things that really make life smooth and joyful. The rest of it is short-term at best. The Buddhists, who are very good at analyzing and categorizing human experience, they have determined, according to their scripture, according to their modern scriptures, that the greatest honor, the greatest accolade, the greatest bit of good fortune that you could possibly receive, the mind will be quiet for a maximum of only 3 days. It will go, if it was restless before, this great honor, this winning the lottery, this whatever it is that has happened to this person, no matter how great the honor, the accolade, or the good fortune, the mind will remain quiet and not restless for a maximum of only 3 days. It's only love and compassion that will extend that. And the more unconditional the love, the more smooth and joyful will be the relationship. The minute there's any bartering in it, then it no longer really feels as sweet. Any comments or questions about that?
Hi, Brother Shankar. It's
Yes,
Michaela.
Michaela.
Hi. So if the mind goes back, if it doesn't have love or compassion after 3 days, which is its natural state, then it goes back to being unruly. Is that what you're saying?
No. It's love and compassion are the opposite of these worldly honors and accolades and good fortune. No, the mind, without love and compassion, the mind will be restless. That's true. But it is love and compassion, particularly if it's sustained, and the more unconditional the love is, the more joyful, and the Swami uses the word smooth, which is a nice word. But the Buddhists say that no matter how great an honor or accolade, worldly honor or honor, or some great thing that has happened to you, even winning the lottery, that kind of thing, the mind will remain quiet for only 3 days and then become restless again. In the sustained presence of love and compassion, the mind is less likely to be restless and full of desire.
Thank you, Brother Shankara. So the way after 3 days would be to stay with your meditation, right? And doing yapa and maybe service, whatever calms your mind down then.
Whatever it is that you found useful and calming before, you would want to continue that right through the 3 days, not stop it because there's some other reason for the mind to become quiet. You would just increase the quietness and increase the sense of joy, bliss, if you sustained your practices right through the 3 days. And of course, what the corollary for this among the Buddhists, or careful measurement and reasoning, is that most things produce a much, much shorter period of quiet for the mind. As Swami Prabhupada used to say, desire is nothing more than a restlessness of the mind. And the reason we enjoy the fruits of desire, we satisfy a desire, he said the reason is for a few moments, the mind is quiet. The desire has been satisfied. When the mind becomes quiet, what happens? Our true original nature, the profound aspect of our inner being immediately emerges as soon as the mind is quiet, which is the reason for quieting the mind. I mean, through other practices. No matter how much you try to quiet it constantly through desire, it won't work because it only lasts for a few moments. Then the mind goes back to being restless. So it is only our spiritual practices, and you name 3: meditation, japa, and service. All 3 of those can quiet the mind. And so that's as Swami Vivekananda points out, you don't do these things so that you'll be a good person. You'll do those things so that you are less limited, more free, and more blissful. Though they produce good effects in the world, and that's all wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Thank you, dear. Thanks for bringing it up. It's good to bring these distinctions into clear focus.
Well, I do have another question. It was, so you said like if someone won the lottery, because we're talking about on this class humility. And then earlier, I like where you said, no, on that the money belongs in the bank belongs to Ramakrishna. So that's really nice way of looking at that. So from this day on, it's changed my viewpoint that way. So thank you for saying that, because I'm going to look at my own life that way and with the story that you talked about.
Good, Michele. That's wonderful. And yes, I mean, how hard would it be to be humble? But the fact of the matter is that most people who are pursuing a spiritual way of life are not going to be playing the lottery anyway. That's not going to be part of what they're doing. If somebody gives them a lottery ticket, some people give those gifts at birthdays and other times. They give them a ticket, and so then say that won the lottery. Then the spiritual aspirant would be challenged to maintain their humility, their detachment, and their sense that this great windfall was a gift from the divine and belonged, in fact, to the divine. The gift of its stewardship was, so now I'm entrusting you with all this money. So make use of it for the benefit of humanity.
Thank you, Brother Shankara. That helps me a lot. So because there's inheritance too. I mean, not the lottery, but
yes,
people get a windfall unexpectedly from an inheritance, or
yes, they do,
an unexpected death in the
yes,
family. So
One of the close devotees of this place for practically since the beginning, when Swami Yogishananda, his sister recently died, quite unexpectedly, over a short period of time, and left him and his wife with quite a windfall. They are, of course, because being the kind of people they are handling that situation actually more as an austerity than a windfall. Oh my goodness, now we have to manage all these other resources. So, but they're doing a wonderfully good job of it, as you might imagine.
Brother Shankara, is it a test? Because life is a classroom. So if you do come in a windfall, is it your karma, but it's also a test towards your humility or
Well,
spirituality?
you can look at it that way, dear. You can look at it as a test, as Swami Vivekananda said. Life is a gymnasium. We come here to perfect ourselves. So you can think of it that way. But it's rare that the divine tests us deliberately this way. It happens, but usually only if you are going to be given some additional responsibility, not for yourself, but for others. You're going to be given a responsibility. For example, Swami Ashokananda, when he took over in San Francisco, was severely tested. He was even tempted to stray from the path of service to Sri Ramakrishna by the Buddha himself. This is in the book, A Heart. Oh, it's Sister Gargi's biography of him, A Heart something. I'm sorry, Marie Louise Burke wrote a biography of Swami Ashokananda, and I don't remember the full title right now. But anyway, this story is told by her. She was his disciple. And so there are instances of, this happened to Swami Prabhupada, of feeling this immense pressure on his shoulders. And when he asked in a spiritual sense, what is this? It was Vivekananda saying, I'm seeing if you can bear my weight. So we are occasionally tested, but we mustn't feel that if something like this windfall that you're talking about happens, and we don't respond in the highest ideal, that doesn't compromise the ideal. It only betrays that we're still immersed in that level of ignorance that doesn't allow us to respond most auspiciously. So there's very few instances in which we should feel bad about ourselves. We see the ideal, we know the ideal as spiritual aspirants, and we know, as Vivekananda said, we fall 1,000 times and we rise 1,001 times. So it's usually not best to think of these things as tests, but simply like, what is the most auspicious way I can behave here? What is the response from my best self? And then try and behave accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
You're more than welcome, dear. I'm really glad you brought this up. because
brother.
this is right to the point. Anything else from anyone? All right. Again, thank you, Michele. That's what this class is for, is to clarify these things. So if there's nothing else, we'll read on for a few minutes. We have a few
Okay.
minutes left.
Let me start that again. Without love and compassion, human beings are like bees. These two noble qualities make life smooth and joyful. They exist in every human heart to differing degrees. That person is great whose love and compassion are focused on others. Through love and compassion.
Please
Sure.
read that again, please.
Yes, they exist in every human heart to differing degrees. That person is great whose love and compassion are focused on others.
This is why we so honor people like Swami Sarvadevananda, who's coming. Does Swami Sarvadevananda live a moment of his life for himself these days? No, no. Everything he does, everything he thinks, everything he says or sings, he's quite a lovely singer. Everything that his every action is on behalf of others. As a result, universe provides him with great support. Sure, there are people who iron his clothes. He doesn't have to iron his own clothes. He doesn't have to shine his own shoes. He doesn't have to prepare his own food. Universe cares for him. The Divine Mother is caring for him. So when he comes here, we'll do everything we can to make him feel welcome and loved and comfortable and provide everything for him. Already devotees are coming forward with that in mind. But why do we do that? We do that because he embodies that sentence. That person is great, whose love and compassion are focused on others. He's coming here, why? So that he can offer initiation to people. All the rest of his relationship could be handled at a distance. That can't be handled at a distance. So he's coming here. So approximately, looks like about 8 or 9 people will receive Diksha. That's the only reason for his visit. And of course, he risks his life every time he gets on a plane, goes out in public. There are many people who are not being careful about the virus. So this is why we honor that person is great, whose love and compassion are focused on others. We'll just leave it at that, dear, I think.
Yeah, we'll start next week right from the beginning.
Yes,
That would be great.
we'll start at
Sure, love and compassion.
We'll start with that subhead. Any
Thank you.
final comment or question from anyone? Well, it's good to see Liam here with us this evening. We haven't seen him much for a while. I believe he just signed off. Or there he is. No, there he is.
Oh, he's there.
Yeah.
He turned on his video.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Liam, and good to hear your voice.
Thank you. Great to be here. Yeah, I've been, lurking here and there.
A lurker. That's good. All right. Anything else from anyone before we wind it up? All right, dears. Oh, dearly beloved, a flower at your feet for each one who comes to your open door. A flower at your feet for each one who stands by your open door and says, "Come to me, come to me," offering to break this world's chain that binds us down to ignorance, suffering, and death. A flower at thy feet for each one who takes the path that you have struck through this your jungle world. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. And may we go forward in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. So, on Wednesday evening, tomorrow evening, we'll study Swami Vivekananda's Jnana Yoga. We're still coming toward the end of his talk, The Real and the Apparent Man, which is one of his summum bonum talks. And then on Saturday, of course, we'll study Swami Prabhavananda's interpretation and commentary on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Interpretation of and commentary on. And for the life of me, I cannot remember what the topic is for this coming Sunday, but there is one. You'll find it in the newsletter, which will go out soon. Any final thought or comment or question from anyone? All right, dears. Until next time, Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai.